Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Christina. I have another yoga video for you today, and this one is centered around hips. Opening up the hips, we will eventually go into some very deep hip stretches. As always, listen to your body first and my voice second. Everything here is merely a suggestion to help you on your yoga path. I really hope you enjoy and have a great practice. Namaste. We're going to begin today lying on our backs. Come into this space and into this breath, breathing deeply all the way down to the belly and exhaling fully, allowing the breath to soften the places that are tight. And inhale all the way up, reaching long, hands and feet towards opposite directions. And as you exhale, take your hands and your feet towards the right side of your mat. Feel free to stack the left foot on top of the right and encircle the left wrist with the right finger and thumb. Breathing into that left side body. And we're going to inhale back to center and exhale off to that left hand side, switching the grip on the wrist from the right hand to the left hand, stacking the right foot on top if that feels good, and breathing through that right side body. And inhaling back to center, and tuck those knees into your chest, giving yourself a nice hug. Rocking side to side if that feels good. Let that left leg drift down to the mat. Keep the right knee close, wrapping the hands around the back of the thigh, pulling the knee towards the chest, hard flexing the foot, pressing towards the ceiling, providing your own resistance, stretching that hamstring. We're going to draw that right knee towards the right armpit, still trying to step that foot on the ceiling while keeping it as close to your body as you can. And coming back through center, we're going to take that knee off towards the opposite shoulder, keeping it nice and close, still trying to step on the ceiling with that foot flexed. It's okay if you're shaking. That's perfectly normal. And we're going to draw both knees in, giving yourself another hug, switching sides, taking that left knee towards the chest, wrapping the hands around the back of that thigh just behind the knee. The left foot is flexed, toes towards the forehead, pressing towards the ceiling. And draw that knee in towards the left armpit. Nice and deep hip stretch. Still flexing that foot. And coming back through center, and then taking it off to the opposite shoulder. Feeling the stretch in the outside of the thigh, the outside of that hip. And bringing both knees back in, giving yourself a little hug. Feel free to say something nice to yourself here. And grabbing those ankles, pressing the flats of the feet together, letting the knees open wide, reclined cobbler's pose, drawing the heels in towards the body. Opening up those hips. And making your way up through a seated position and into a tabletop. Stacking your wrists, elbows, shoulders in a line. Knees directly under the hips. Inhale, drop the belly, lift the heart. And exhale, rounding out, pressing up between those shoulder blades. And inhale, drop the belly, lift the heart, take the gaze up. Exhale, rounding out, tucking that chin to the chest. And inhale, drop the belly, lift the heart. And exhale, rounding out. Pressing up, coming back to a neutral spine. Send that right leg straight back, feet flexed, Left arm forward and bring the knee and elbow together. And reach out and coming in and out and back in and back out and lower back down to tabletop, coming to the other side, taking that left foot straight back, right arm up, straight forward, neck is long, and bring the knee and elbow together and back out and in. Tighten up that core and out and back in and out and coming back down to a neutral spine. Feel free to shake it out if that feels good. Coming down onto your belly, bringing the elbows directly underneath the shoulders, lifting the heart in Sphinx pose. Legs are long, chin is lifted, gaze is up, pressing the tops of the feet into the mat. And we're going to take that left leg out to the side, coming into a drunken frog or tipsy frog. The knee is directly off the hip. The heel is right behind the knee, trying to make 90 degrees with those joints, sending that right hip towards the mat, opening up that hip. Relaxing through. And taking that leg back to the back of the mat. We're going to do the same thing on that right hand side. Taking the knee up so it's straight off the side of the hip. You want the heel directly behind that knee, so you're making a little L with your knee and another L with your ankle, sending that right hip towards the mat. Keeping the heart lifted, the gaze is forward, the neck is long, releasing the tension. And sending that leg back. And we're going to make our way back up to our tabletop position. And send that right leg up so it's outside your right hand towards the edge of the mat. The back leg nice and long. You can stay up on your hands or you can come down onto your forearms into lizard. You want to make sure that your knee is not going beyond your toes, that it's right over your ankle. You may find that you can drift lower into this posture, or you may not. It's okay to be on your hands or on your forearms. And pressing up, we're going to walk that front foot in between the hands. And we're going to walk the hips back over the back leg. Front leg is straight, heel is into the mat, toes are towards the sky, pelvis tilted to the sky. Pull your right hip back, your left hip forward. Ardha Hanumanasana, or half split. Feeling this in the back of those legs. Shifting onto that front foot, sending the left hip towards the mat, arms up and back, opening the heart, devotion pose. Bringing the hands down, framing the front foot meets the back, and press the hips back into child's pose, getting some relief in that low back. And coming back up to our tabletop position. Now we're doing the left side, taking that left leg up towards the outside of the mat. You can stay up on the hands or lower down onto those forearms in dragon or lizard. Keeping that knee over the ankle, not letting it go past the toes. It's okay if this side feels different from the other side. Find relief in each side, letting each side be its own experience. And pressing into the hands, Lifting up, we're going to walk that front foot halfway across. So it's between the hands, keeping the heel against the mat. Toes up as we straighten out that leg, sending the hips back. Heart is lifted, tailbone to the sky, front leg is straight, Ardha Hanumanasana. Half split, send that left hip back, that right hip forward. This is an intense hamstring stretch. Shifting the weight forward onto the front foot, sending the right hip forward, arms up and back, reaching back as is comfortable to you. Devotion pose. Hands down to frame that front foot goes to the back, hips back, arms long. Child's pose. Take a breath. Take stock. And coming back to tabletop. We'll go through this one more time, bringing that right foot forward. Now feel free to let that right knee drift open, opening up that right hip a little bit more. You may find you can drift a little lower into this posture, and that is fine. And if you can't, that's fine too. But really working on opening up that hip. Pressing back up. And we're going to bend that back leg from the knee, reaching back and gripping anything, if you can, your foot, your ankle, your pant leg, or just reaching in that general direction. Pressing that left hip towards the mat, stretching the quad, and release. Walking that front foot between the hands, coming back into Ardha Hanumanasana. Hips back, tailbone up. Leg is straight, right heel into the mat, toes towards the forehead. Right hip back, left hip forward, lifting the heart. Shifting the weight forward onto the front foot, taking that left hip towards the mat, arms to the sky, and back in devotion pose. Bringing the hands back down, framing that front foot meets the back, hips back over the heels, arms long in child's pose. Coming back through tabletop, we'll bring that left foot forward to the edge of the mat outside that left arm, coming down onto the forearms if that is available to you, letting that left hip drift open, opening up that left hip further in winged lizard, sending the hips towards the mat, letting this side be its own experience, coming up onto the hands, bending that back knee, reaching back, grabbing wherever you can, the foot, the pant leg, or just reaching in that direction, stretching that right quad, sending that right hip towards the mat. And releasing, walking the left hip in between the front hands, walking those hips back, shifting the left hip back, the right hip forward, tailbone to the sky, heart is lifted, leg is straight, left heel is down, toes are up. Ardha Hanumanasana, half split. Shifting weight onto that front foot, sending the right hip towards the mat, arms up and back, opening up the heart, devotion pose. And bringing the hands back down, framing the front foot comes to the back, hips back, arms long, head down, child's pose. Stretching out that low back, take a couple of breaths. We're going to make our way onto our bottoms, facing the long edge of the mat, stretching the legs out as wide as they will go. Toes towards the sky. Inhaling up long and exhale, reaching forward, back is flat, neck is long. You may be on your hands, you may be on your forearms. It doesn't matter how low you go. And now we're going to round that back over, reaching as far forward as is available to you. I don't care if your forehead hits the ground. What matters here is that stretch, that opening of the inner thighs. And making our way back up, we're going to turn so the shoulders are square over that right knee, reaching up long as you inhale and exhale, fold forward, keeping that back nice and flat, reaching towards the foot. And rounding over. Taking that forehead in the direction of your knee. Now we'll take that right arm and slide it along the inside of the right leg. Take the left arm around, up, and over along that left ear, reaching towards your right foot. If you can grab that right foot, feel free to do so. If not, no worries. We're stretching along that left side. And coming back to the middle, forehead towards the mat. You may find you can go a little bit deeper. Feel free to do so. If not, that's okay. And lifting up, turning so the shoulders are square to that left knee. Arms up as you inhale, reaching forward, back is flat. Arms going towards that left foot, toes still towards the sky. And we're going to round over, taking the forehead towards the knee. Again, it's okay if you don't reach your forehead all the way down to your leg. The shape your body is in is not the point. The point is the sensation, the release, the stretch. Slide that left hand along the inside of the left leg. Take the right arm around, up, and over. By that right ear, reaching along with those fingers. Feel free to grab your left big toe if that is available to you today. And make your way back to center. Again, forehead towards the mat. You may find at this point that you have enough space in your hips to take your head all the way down to the ground. You may also find that you may be able to slide your arms underneath your knees. If that is available to you, feel free to do so. If not, stay right where you are, because where you are is still beautiful. Make your way back up. And we're going to turn. We're going into frog pose now. If your knees are sensitive, you may want to grab a blanket to lay underneath your knees. So you'll take your knees wide, your big toes together, coming onto your forearms, and take those feet out wide so that your ankles come directly behind your knees. Your knees are directly off of your hips. You press your hips back, tuck your hips under, and you're still trying to send those hips towards the mat. This is a tough pose. It's a very, very deep hip opener. Some people love it, some people hate it. And some people find that the best part of this posture is actually when you come out of it, which I promise we will do. We just need to stay here just a tiny bit longer to get the full benefit of that deep deep hip stretch that you're getting here. Breathing in and out. If you find you can wiggle your knees apart a little bit and send your hips a little closer to the mat, feel free to do so. Also, feel free to laugh at that suggestion if you know that you can't. To come out of this pose, slowly roll yourself forward until your belly comes down and walk your feet together, taking your legs long and straight. Lying on your belly, pillowing your head on your hands. Feel free to shimmy the hips out. And just feel that release in the hips. We've done a lot to open the hips and stretch the inner thighs. Now we're going to stretch the other side, the outer hips, coming into pigeon, taking the right knee towards the right hand, the right heel under the opposite hip point. You can stay up on your up on your hands. You can come down onto your forearms. And if it's available, come down resting your head on the mat, keeping those hips square. The back leg is straight. This is an excellent compensatory pose. We've done so much work on the inner thighs and inner hips, as I said. We need to work the back hips, the outer hips. And this is one of those postures that really gets those hip flexors. We'll stay here for just a few more deep breaths. Breathing in and out. And then we'll switch sides, sending the front foot to the back and the back foot to the front, taking the left knee towards the left hand, the left ankle towards that right hip. Again, staying up on your hands, coming down to your forearms, or laying long, pressing your forehead towards the mat, reaching the hands forward. The back leg is straight, the hips are square. Letting this side be its own stretch, its own experience. Inhale and exhale. As you exhale, imagine your tension releasing little by little and bit by bit. From here, we're going to press up and make our way to lying down on the mat, however that looks for you, drawing the knees into your chest, giving yourself a hug. And we're going to cross that right leg over the left, marrying those knees as close together as you can, reaching up and taking the hands to grip the ankles, feet are flexed, drawing the joined knees towards your chest in a reclined cow face. Again, breathing. And we're going to release, unwinding the legs and rewinding them, crossing the left leg over the right, taking those knees close to each other, gripping the ankles, drawing these crossed legs in towards the chest. Feet are flexed. And unwinding and just giving yourself a hug, drawing both knees into your chest, taking the left leg down, take the left hand to grab the right ankle and draw that right leg across to the left side of the mat. Feel free to let your gaze drift over the right shoulder if that feels good. Taking a few breaths. And we're going to come back to center. Give yourself another hug and switch sides, straightening the right leg, taking the right hand down to the left ankle, and crossing that left leg over the body to the right side of the mat. The left arm can go out. The gaze can be up or over the left shoulder. Again, breathing, releasing tension as you can. And coming back to center, giving yourself another hug and letting the legs drift down, letting the arms rest along your side, setting up for Shavasana. Feel free to stay here in Shavasana as long as you care to, even after the video ends. Focusing on the breath, focusing on now. And I leave you with this thought. The world provides us with continual opportunities for practice. When we find ourselves in an emotional reaction, the universe is giving us a wonderful opportunity to simply pause and feel. For a moment, practice letting go of the story and become aware of the sensations of your body. Can you rest in that space of just being? From Wit and Wisdom from the Yoga Mat by Rachel Scott. The beauty in me honors the beauty in you. I wish you peace and long life. God bless. Namaste.